One of the questions we get asked the very most is, do you have a therapist you can recommend for me? And while we wish that we knew of therapists in every single place, in every single part of the country, we don't. So what do we tell them instead, Mel?
We say check out BetterHelp because it's online, it's at a reasonable price, and you can be matched with a therapist within 24 hours. I've also used them and they have been great. And if you don't like your therapist, guess what? Click, and get a new one.
Absolutely. It's so hard when you have an in-person therapist, if you're not clicking with them, to cut them off and get a new one. So that's not an issue with BetterHelp. So we always tell people to try BetterHelp. And if you use our promo code, which is
trybetterhelp.com/WWDN,
you get 10% off your first month.
Go ahead and try it out. That's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN. And you know what? I'm a big fan of doing therapy where you don't have to wear pants, but nobody knows about it.
Are you wearing pants right now, Mel?
I'll see you later. Bye. That's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN. Well, Anita.
Well, Mel, I'm excited.
Yeah, I know this person. You don't yet.
Exactly. Yeah. Tell us who they are.
Okay, well, I am a musician, and that
I've heard.
means, yeah, sometimes I meet really cool people. Well, all the time I meet cool people. And then sometimes I meet cool people who are also musicians, who are also widows.
Ugh.
And in this case, I actually met this person. I think we did one gig
Mhm.
and then didn't see her for a long time. We have the same circles. And then I found out that she had a similar story to mine.
Okay. Wait, though. So our guest is a musician.
Yes.
I want to guess what instrument she plays.
Oh, perfect.
Okay. Is it the castanets?
Sometimes.
Is it the oboe?
Not oboe.
Is it the singing of the voice?
Ding, ding, ding.
She plays the voice. Very nice.
This is Erica Hansen. Welcome, Erica.
Hi. Hi, Mel. Hi, Anita. Thank you so much for having me. And it's so good to see you. And when Mel says she's a musician, I mean, she's like really a musician. She's out of this world. Just anytime I get to gig with her and then just stand there and watch her play, I'm just like, this is a great way to spend the evening. I'm good with this.
We've been doing a couple gigs where it's like at a restaurant, but we just get paid to hang out and play tunes with our friends. So pretty fun.
Eat some great food and share a few laughs. It is fun.
Yes. So, Erica, sorry that you're a widow. Bummer.
It is. It does suck.
Super
It does suck.
stupid. And actually, I saw you a couple years or 1 year, I can't remember, after Scott died and you were more fresh into it. And I remember how much effort it took me to be able to do things on
Yes.
stage, and I barely made it through, and I saw you there, right?
At the Arts Fest, right?
Yeah. And
So I think Scott died. Did we decide it's 3 months before Jeremy did?
I can't
He's
remember.
November, right?
So Scott died November 6th,
Yeah.
2017. And when did Jeremy die?
And then Jeremy was March 1st, 2018.
So it was pretty close. And yeah. And then there's actually a similar element to Anita's story that we're going to find out about. I don't know if I told you that part, Erica, but you guys are all going to find out, as are our listeners. So before we get into all of that stuff, will you tell us about yourself, where you grew up, what kind of things you did growing up, and before the death as an adult? Kind of just give us a little backstory.
Yeah. So my name is Erica Hansen. I'm a Salt Lake City native, born and raised, graduated from the University of Utah. And I've just, I don't know, hung out. I did a bunch of media stuff. I've worked in TV and radio and performed on stage. I've done a lot of musical theater, and this is just kind of my home base here in Salt Lake City. I have one daughter. She is now 17 and driving around like a big shot and going to prom and just all the great teenagery stuff. I was married once before, and then, and have my beautiful daughter, and then was married to Jer, and I still walk around and scream out, "Who dies?" Like, who does that?
to people?
Who
So
does that?
where did Jeremy come from? So you were married and then divorced?
Yep, married and then divorced, and then Jeremy. Well, we have an awesome meet cute story because
Do tell.
Jeremy and I met at Costco.
In the
So
sample line?
Was he giving the samples?
no, that would have been better though, right? He had his two daughters. He had two daughters in his shopping cart, and Victoria, my daughter, was in my shopping cart, and we just kept passing each other up and down these aisles of Costco.
Mhm.
And he'd smile and beam and try to make funny jokes. I just kept thinking, what the hell is this guy's problem? Just whatever. And so we get all the way down to the pharmacy section, and then he finally said, "I'm Jeremy, by the way." And I said, "I'm Erica. It's nice to meet you." And that was it. We went our separate ways. And then Monday, I'm logging into Facebook at work, and here's this friend request from Jeremy. And I was like, oh gosh, the Costco guy. Like now we have to be friends. So, that seemed very weird to me. I didn't friend people I didn't know at the time. So
Wait, did you give him your last name or did he just go through
no.
all the Ericas ever and he found you?
Yeah. And Facebook's pretty quick to be like, here's an Erica who lives in your city. Here's an Erica.
There's got to be a lot of Eric. I mean, that's
Yeah.
not like it's not like your name is Rohishana
No, it's not.
or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
My apologies to any Rohishanas.
It's a good name. It's a good name. No, he was committed. He found me. I ignored him for a week or two, even maybe. And then I kind of went through his profile, and I mean, he was cute. His girls were cute. He looked like he did fun things. So I eventually accepted his friend request. And then that was just kind of it. We would like photos from time to time, but literally a year and a half went by. And then one day he posted a picture of himself in costume and tagged the Utah Opera Company. So as someone who sings, I was like, the Costco guy sings. I didn't see that one coming. So turns out he was an extra. When they have these big group numbers, they'll hire extras to put him in costume and come out and be the townsfolk or whatever in the opera. So he was a sailor in Madame Butterfly. Aida? Gosh, I forget which he's done two, and I forget which one came first. At any rate, he said, you cracked the door open and I burst through like the Kool-Aid man. Like he just ever since, because I messaged him and said, do you sing? And so we got together to talk about his experience at the Utah Opera, and he brought me a couple churros to work, and the rest is history. Costco churros.
Okay, so is he good at singing, or was he like a non-singing townsperson?
He was a non-singing townsperson.
Oh, sailor. So sorry, sailor.
Yeah, no, he grew up doing football and rugby. You just kind of in high school, you can't do both. You've got to kind of pick, you just don't have enough time. And he always wanted to know what it felt like to perform. So this was his opportunity, and he loved everything about it. So then he went on to do Aida was the second one he did, and he loved that one as well.
Anita, that means there's time for you. You've done a lot of sports, but now you know that you can, as an adult, join the opera.
Fun fact, today I had my job performance evaluation, and you're supposed to make like, I don't know, goals for your professional life. And I'm like, my goal is to like come to work, like, what do you want from me?
Get up the next morning, show up.
So I was like, my goal is to make it on Broadway. That's what I said.
Did you put that?
Yes. And I was like, and I can't actually sing that well, so I'm going to need a lot of support from my coworkers. Anyway, so you're telling me there's a chance.
Actually, I love that for self-evaluation. I'm going to add that to my own.
Well, that would also make sense for you. So,
Anita, the tour of Wicked is coming to Salt Lake next.
Do they need
month.
a sailor?
Well, you could. I think that's your in. You got to join the union first, get to know people, and then.
I want to hear your ending riff.
Yes.
Get way up there.
Yes.
Erica, what year was this that you let Costco man enter your life for good?
Let's see. It must have been 2015, the fall of 2015. We dated about a year and a half, and then we were married about a year and a half, and then he died. So it was fast and furious and just full of so much joy. Just like the most joyful chapter.
You blended your families, I'm guessing. So you went from one children to three children.
Yeah, one child to three children. And we kind of had we did the 50-50 thing.
Yeah.
So we'd have kid weekends and non-kid weekends, and actually just equally loved both. The girls all got along great. They were good ages. They were at the time 4,
All
7, and
girls?
11. Yeah, three girls.
Okay.
So his were 4 and 11, and then Victoria was right in there at age 7, and they were just it was just kind of
You
great. It was just kind of idyllic.
you couldn't even plan that better. That's like perfect spacing.
Yeah, it was great
Wow.
spacing. They got along, and I liked that they were three girls because, it just kind of eliminates a worry. I didn't know anything about raising boys, so I wouldn't have known what to do there.
It's
Yeah, it was
wild.
great. It was really great.
Okay, so things are going great. You're married. It's been a year and a half. What happens? Hey guys, just checking in and want to say if you are enjoying this podcast,
And you want to see it keep going, maybe it's helped you through your widowhood journey and you think that it might help others on their widowhood journey, you can support that cause by joining our Patreon.
some of the things that you get as a Patreon beneficiary are ad-free episodes, so you don't have to hear ads like this.
You also get exclusive content, and at a certain level, you might also get an exclusive t-shirt you can only get that place.
That is true. It's pretty cool. There are 4 different tiers available, so check it out. It's patreon.com/WWDN.
And as an extra bonus, very often you get your names read by one of my kids, and they will do a terrible job with the pronunciation. And that's like a bonus, I think.
I think it's kind of the best. I would much rather hear somebody butcher my name than say it correctly.
A child butcher it than an adult do it correctly. Yep. So go to patreon.com/WWDN to keep our podcast going and support the widowed cause.
Yes! Thanks, guys! Back to our regularly scheduled program.
We're married. It's been a year and a half, and this is where this awesome story takes a tragic turn. We were set to get together in Nashville for the weekend. So one of my dear besties was there for work. So I went to meet my friend, and then Jer was going to go work in Atlanta and then rent a car and drive up to Nashville and be there by Friday
What did
afternoon.
he do?
He when we first met, he was a manager at a Wendy's and was awesome at that. And then he switched and started selling car warranties, which, believe it or not, was his dream job, which I always laugh because that is nobody's dream job. But he loved it. He loves
That's funny.
cars. He loves that world. He has owned a car dealership. He sold cars. He just kind of likes that world. So he was selling car warranty services. So he would travel a bit and meet the salespeople and go visit the car dealerships and that kind of thing. So he was going to work, rent a car, be to Nashville by lunchtime, and we were going to have lunch and hear live music and go to bars and see a show at the Grand Ole Opry and just everything that I love. I mentioned before I do musical theater, and a lot of that has been doing Patsy Cline tribute. So I love all this country western music. So that was a particular dream of mine. So we're in Nashville. We're having a great time. I have one perfect day that is just me by myself. My friend had to work this day. I got to go to the Country Music Hall of Fame. I got to go see a show at the Ryman. I got to go to the Patsy Cline Museum. I just had this whole day to myself to just immerse myself in everything I love. And I saw my show at the Ryman. It was full of amazing gospel music, and they did tributes to Patsy Cline. That it was just this. My soul was so full. And I walk across the street to meet my friend in Tootsie's, which is this little honky tonk bar. Lots of history there. Lots of singer songwriters have, hung out at this bar, wrote great music. And I get a call from Jeremy's sister. She lived just outside of Atlanta in a town called Flowery Branch. And she called me, and I ducked into this fluorescently lit little gift shop. And she's just said, "I'm so sorry, Jeremy's passed away." I mean, this is a guy who didn't even have cavities. He is a big, strapping, healthy ox of a man. So I
A
just,
sailor of a man.
a sailor of a man.
A
Exactly.
Kool-Aid man.
A
The
sailor
Kool-Aid
of a
man
Kool-Aid
bursted
man.
on through. They weren't entirely sure at the time. They thought blood clots. So I had to rent a car and drive from Nashville to Flowery Branch, Georgia to go stay with his sister. And so I've only met his sister once before, so we're strangers. I'm driving through this dark night in a place I've never been to go stay at the house of a woman I didn't know, to just like sit there and figure out what the hell had happened to my life.
What are you thinking when you're driving too? I mean, that's it's something so big to comprehend.
Yeah.
And you weren't with him, and I know what that's like because Scott was in a different state
Right,
when he
right.
died. So it's like, is this true? Should I be crying? Like, is this
Right.
real?
Well, and it's funny you say that because I didn't cry for a long time. I just kind of kept thinking, "Well, I should be crying," and but I knew that as soon as I got there, she'd say, "Oh my gosh, that he came back to life." It's they brought him back. I knew for sure that that was going to happen. But then, I'm driving and then she's calling me saying, asking me if I want to do tissue donation. And if I want to do tissue donation, time is of the essence. And Jared and I, we were so busy being madly in love, we didn't even have time to talk about that. And frankly, our marriage was short enough. We never even like, hey, if I die before you, we just didn't have any of those conversations. And I think all three of us, I think our experiences just with the suddenness of it adds this whole level of, because you just were fine like one day in 1 minute and then they're just gone the next minute. And it's so crushing.
I'm just gonna ask, like, what were the circumstances? Like, did he like what happened? Did you find out before or just you just had to wait?
Nope. It took 4 days before the medical examiner called with the final like autopsy.
4 days?
Yeah. Because they did all the tissue removal and then he was sent to the autopsy and that took a full they worked through the weekend trying to get that done. So I stayed in Atlanta.
It takes like 3 months. That's so fast.
Okay. Oh, see, I didn't have that perspective. That's interesting. And maybe it's because we were out of town and would have to fly back to Utah. I don't know. So that's interesting. 3 months. No, it was 4 days and the medical examiner called and yeah, it was blood clots, pulmonary embolism. They typically form in the leg and it just works its way into his lungs and he just couldn't breathe. Now, I was there with my friend in Nashville. I was having Jeremy and I didn't talk for those 2 days. We sent some texts because he left to Atlanta. I went to Nashville. We were doing our thing. We would check in via text, but I didn't talk to him. And I always wonder because he was having a hard time breathing when he got to Atlanta. In fact, he and his colleague, they went to an Instacare. He was doing all the stuff. They kept telling him it was asthma. They'd send him home with inhalers. So he was trying, and I just always wonder if I had talked to him, would I have heard it? Would I have known, like, you don't sound well, go to the ER? I don't know that I would have. So sometimes I'm almost glad we didn't talk because then maybe that's protecting me to just continue to power through this life. Because can you imagine had I spoken to him and wasn't immediately alarmed, I would have that on my brain for forever. Like, why didn't I? So this is my public service announcement to everyone. If you can't breathe, it's a really big deal. This is a really big deal. Go to the ER immediately. And just the doctors told him it was fine. And I think he walked in looking healthy. And that night he was supposed to go to dinner with his sister. He passed out in the shower a couple times.
A couple times.
Yeah, a couple times. Decided to drive himself to the hospital, which I wish he would have just called an ambulance. But these big tough guys, they just kind of, I don't know. The doctor told him it was asthma. So anyway, he did make it to the hospital. It sounds from the medical examiner's report, he was able to sort of stumble in, mumble trouble breathing, and then he just collapsed. And they worked for 45 minutes trying to bring him back. And he just just didn't make it.
because the Instacare or urgent care place was like, it's asthma. Is that something that I don't know if you did this, but do you guys know if people, when they go for malpractice, they go after those kinds of clinics? Or is it only like hospital stuff, like ERs?
You can do both, from my understanding. And I think it all comes down to what's the standard operating procedure. How would most urgent cares treat, a male presenting as otherwise healthy? There's been a lot of questions about that. I won't lie, because, a man his age, healthy otherwise with recent air travel, it's like all the major red flags waving. I've talked to some medical people after that are like, that that one probably should have been caught. So there is this added level of just this whole medical system we have and needing to advocate for ourselves and trying to be heard. And, our healthcare workers are really busy and tasked with moving patients through, and it's an imperfect system.
And I'll add on to that. Our healthcare system is also dumb because he probably also didn't want to call an ambulance because it's like,
Yeah.
oh, that's super expensive. So like I'm just gonna take myself there because I don't want to be like alarmist and then have to pay for
Right.
being just like a weenie.
Because how many times have we all felt stupid going to a doctor and you're sent home with nothing, and now it's costing you, and then especially an ambulance out of state, and is this
Hmm.
is this in network, and I don't even know what my
Yeah.
insurance covers.
And they're
Just
gonna be like, that wasn't an emergency, so you have to pay it
yeah,
all. It's just
yeah.
like a lot of bleh.
It's a lot, and I hate that any of us are put in the position of, should I wake up alive tomorrow, or am I going to have a big bill and not want to be alive tomorrow? It's tough.
Oh my goodness. So
Yeah.
how did it go with his sister that you've only met once and now you're like staying there and navigating death with?
Navigating like the most absurd chapter in your life, right? You know what? She's just an absolute angel on this earth to me. She was so loving and kind and concerned and attentive, and she did all the calls to Delta to figure out how to get his body back, and I wouldn't realize for a very long time she was actually grieving the loss of her brother while taking care of me. Didn't even occur to me. I was so kind of just catatonic and numb, and then bursting out with tears. Just this awful, surreal space. But she was absolute angel on earth for me. She's just lovely soul, lovely, lovely soul.
Did you fly back with the body?
Yeah. So they did the autopsy. They took every last piece of tissue that they could take, including his beautiful eyes. So I was in Atlanta for about 5 days, and then we flew home with his body on Delta. They got all three of us on the same flight, and yeah, made it back to Salt Lake, and then we had his funeral service here. The funeral worker's like, well, they took a lot of tissue and the autopsy took a little bit longer, so he doesn't really look, how they just never look like
They
themselves.
look bad.
They gave him these big old jowls that he never had, and I was just like, okay.
Oh, so you
But
saw him. You
I
decided to see him.
did. I had a private meeting with his body on the Monday night before we flew home, and the day before we flew home, and I just needed to see him. I needed the proof. I needed a conversation. I needed to just talk to him.
Yell at him.
Yeah. Yeah. So you lied. You said you saw us old together. You like just all of it. We just as you just don't have any of those conversations, and then it's so sudden that so I went and had a conversation. I sat with him for maybe about an hour and just waited for a response, waited for him to wake up, something
Or
magical.
like a pen to move on the table or like a cup to
Any
tip over, lights
anything.
to flicker.
Yes. Please, all the signs.
So I wonder this, you have kind of an interesting situation because you have your daughter from your own first marriage, and then you've got these two of his daughters from his first relationship. Who was responsible for telling his two daughters? Did you do that or did their mom do that?
Anita, I hear we have a store.
Oh, we sure do. We've actually had it for quite a while. It's called the Snarky Grief Shop, and it's where you will find all of our best grief merch. That is, yes, a little snarky. For instance, it's where you will find the official widow card that you can pull and use at your convenience.
You can put it in your wallet, and anytime you need to use it, pull it out, play the widow card.
Yeah, we have glow-in-the-dark stickers. We have shirts that say, "Be nice, my husband is dead." We also have the ones that are not quite as jarring, so that you can wear them out in public and not feel weird. But sometimes you need that shirt.
I wear my "Be nice, my husband is dead" to bed because I'm a little scared to go in public with it. But you've worn it on airplanes before with your kids.
Yeah, every time we go to the airport, I wear that shirt because I'm just like, listen, I got to get all these kids through security. Just be nice to me. Thank you so much. And it's worked for the most part.
Some of the less snarky grief shirts are podcast shirts or Widow Wives Club. We also have Resilient AF, right, Anita? What else we got in there?
Yeah, which we're telling everybody who cares, like Mel's mom, that means American fork, because she can't know what it really means, guys.
Yeah.
Stickers and mugs and notebooks and just cool stuff that you can use to express your snarky grief. You'll find it by going to our website, shop.widowwedonow.com. There's a lot of W's in there, so just make sure that you've counted them and there's the right number.
We will link to that in the show notes, and it's also in our app, which you can get from the App Store. Can people get it from our regular website too?
Yes, if you go to widowwedonow.com, there's a link for the shop in there too.
Great. If you'd like to show your snark or have something a little more subtle, go ahead and check that out. Again, that's
shop.widowwedonow.com.
My recollection, and I have to be honest, it's fuzzy about those days, but I FaceTimed them. I FaceTimed Victoria. She was staying with my mom. I FaceTimed I FaceTimed Jared's daughters as well the next morning. Like once I'd made it to Georgia and it was confirmed and his sister was saying it's true. That was about 4 a.m. So long about 6 o'clock the next morning, I called the girls and FaceTimed them. And what do you say? You're not even there to hug them. You're not even there to, I didn't really have any information yet. So I didn't really know what to tell them.
Just your dad died.
Yep. Yep.
And I don't know why.
Yeah. And he was so healthy. Like, again, this dude didn't even have cavities. He was just strong as an ox. But yeah, so I FaceTimed them, which was, that's a brutal moment.
How did they respond?
Like immediate tears and hiding the face, and there's nothing else to say. So,
how old were they when he passed away?
Let's see. They were 4, 7, 11 when I met. So then they would be 14, 10, and 7 when he died. So pretty tender ages, especially for his sweet little 14-year-old at the time. That, he was such a dad, like such a present influence, and like his presence was big and he was impactful and he was there and he was involved and he was as hands-on a dad as could be. And so I mean, that's kind of like their bedrock is just so it was such an abrupt shift from their lives. And then our little family we were creating disband. It was just
what did happen with that? I mean, now you don't have any right to them, quote unquote. And so they're kind of ripped away from you, even though you're not dead.
I'm not dead. No rights and no, right sounds like such an awful word, but there's still, I will say this, there's still a lot of love there. There is still relationship there.
Oh, that's good.
The girls they're doing well. I think they've both both of Jer's daughters have had some of their own different challenges that are unique and specific to them and specific to losing their dad. But they're doing well, and I'm happy to say there is still relationship there.
That's I'm just having this like strange, I don't know, flipped perspective because for their mom, she was living the divorced mom life, right? Oh, well, maybe
Mhm.
she's in a new relationship. I guess I shouldn't assume that she isn't.
Remarried,
Okay.
remarried.
Okay. That changes
Yeah,
things. I just think like you go from being the divorced mom, 50-50 custody, and
yeah,
then you're technically kind of a widowed mom because the parent of your children is gone and now you have them all the time.
all the time.
Hmm.
And that's an interesting shift, right? Because we kind of plan our lives around, oh, this is a weekend I could go with my friends because the kids are with dad or the
Mhm.
kids are with. So I do think that kids just bring such an interesting, different perspective. And any story of loss you hear is just so complex and nuanced, and trying to get your own self through your own grief and then getting these little special hearts through their grief in a healthy way is really daunting because you don't want to screw anybody up. And right, you
Yes.
you want them to process it and so that it doesn't restart. I don't know. It's just it feels really like a really large responsibility that you're responsible for these little souls and don't screw them up. But you also need to get yourself up and get out of bed the next day. So,
Good luck.
yeah.
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 How did Victoria do?
Victoria's done remarkably well. Her what's unique about Victoria in compared to the other two is she's, I believe, someone who doesn't really like to talk about unpleasant things. So she's someone who will maybe push it down rather than express it in all the various ways we can express things. So she and I went to a nonprofit here in Salt Lake called the Sharing Place, which I'm sure you are familiar with.
Oh, yes.
Anita probably
Anita.
logged some time at the Sharing Place, but she and I went there, which I think was really helpful for her to just be in that space and be allowed to talk about him as she felt led and without me like, how are you doing? You haven't cried. You haven't just, whatever we do as frantic moms. So it was really, they do such beautiful work there and I think offer such a great service. And so I was glad we went there maybe a couple of years for Victoria.
All right. So now we're at the point kind of in the story where I saw you at the Arts Fest
Yeah.
and I remember you were crying when I came off stage and you were, I don't know if you remember this because widow brain, and you were crying and you were like, seeing you get up there makes me think that I can maybe kind of be okay or do something again someday. And do you remember that at all?
I completely remember it because I, and I'll probably tear up now just thinking about it, but it was so inspirational to me. Like, wow, look what she can do. And she went through something so sad and she's still because it was a piece you composed it, right?
Yeah, I got commissioned to do a jazz piece.
Yeah.
And the funny story about that is my brain was just, everybody listening to this knows it's not there. And
No.
just the struggle to get it, first of all, get it finished. I mean, it was for a big band piece. So that's at least 20 different instruments of an
Wow.
original piece. So I actually used a piece that I had composed before and just orchestrated it. I don't think I
Wow.
could have actually like written something at that point, but
Created, yeah.
yeah. But the first rehearsal, I was not even living in a place that wasn't temporary and I didn't have access to a printer. And so I
Wow.
was late by I think like 10 minutes or so. Because all night long I had just been trying to get these parts done and then find a place to print it. And then I got everything ready and took it up there. And what's even better is I get up to the rehearsal and I'm thinking, okay, I don't want to use like my disastrous life as an excuse. that I look this way, that I'm a little bit late, but it's true. My husband died. I'm kind of homeless. I didn't have a
Yeah.
printer.
I've got a lot going on right
Like,
now.
I can't even explain to anybody how hard it is to do a big band arrangement anyway. And then with grief brain and being displaced, all this stuff. So I was like, I'm just going to go be like, here it is. Let's play it. And we start playing it. The band starts playing it. And it's kind of a well-known fact among musicians that guitar players are not good sight readers. And my piece was hard and had a pretty prominent guitar part in it. And I got chewed out in front of everybody by the guitar player. And he threw a fit. And I was so shocked because of the big band was all these guys. Some of them are my good friends, and some of them are like just old dudes that they're like, who are you? So this particular player, I actually had some college classes from him when I was an undergrad. And at the time he was going through a divorce and was throwing chairs and stuff at students.
Oh my gosh. Okay, anger management.
That was my first experience with him. And then years later, here we are at this big band thing. And I had heard that he had been doing a lot better because it was 10 years later. And so to walk in, have all that happen, and then he said something like, why in the world would you not send this to me? This is something that should have been sent to me beforehand. And I was so shocked. And I said,
oh my gosh,
I'm sorry, I'm homeless. My husband died and I didn't have printer paper. It's a miracle that I got to be here right now. And luckily one of my other friends that's a good friend was standing there and kind of was a buffer for the situation. But it was really interesting because I'm like, here's this person in regular life and they're complaining that they didn't get their music for a rehearsal, which we were going to have 2 more rehearsals.
Right. You're going to be fine.
It's not sight reading well. It's like, well, maybe you should be a better sight reader. First of all, that's not my problem. And also that's a rehearsal. And and so it was this really weird thing. I was kind of traumatized from it because I was like, I have reasons why I normally would have been able to do that. But also he was so insecure in his reading skills. Everyone else is sight reading.
That's on him. That's on him.
But he put it on me. So that was kind of the thing.
Mel,
yes.
I took a guitar lesson last night, so you just call me next time.
She's ready.
Anita, you are hired.
Get her those riffs.
And you know what?
Get those riffs.
You play anything you want.
Yes, I will also need the music 4 years in advance. Thank you so much.
And many lessons in between.
So
I'm so sad
so
that
it's
that
fun.
experience is attached to that performance because it was so moving for me to just see a sad person do things.
That person's doing things.
Sad people doing so. Just for every single widower out there that's like showing up, I'm sure you're inspiring someone to just get up and try again tomorrow.
So that's why it was so, when you said that, I had this whole, like, I was, of course, then like terrified of him again and just like stay away from me because I'm grieving. And like, I was so impressed at that day that I saw you that I got all the parts done officially. I got myself dressed. I had to go and like, I probably say something on stage, which I don't want to talk on stage. And anyway, the performance came and went. And even though you don't know all that backstory of it, that makes it even greater a feat. For you to say that to me was something that made me feel seen because of that experience. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for all your talents and sharing them because it was, I'm telling you, it was a pivotal moment in that summer for me.
Did you perform at it, Erica? Were you part of it or you just witnessed it?
I was not part of it. I just went to the Arts Fest. I knew Mel had posted that she would be performing or that she got that she'd be performing this. So since I knew her and she and I had been texting through this death ordeal here and there, I really wanted to be there to support her. And it was just inspirational.
Thank you. Yeah. And you saying that too. I'm remembering a little bit more. It's like my friend had to drive me up. Carrie drove me up. She's like, here, let me put you to this gate. This is where you walk in. Here's some snacks. You will be okay. And I'm like, no, I will die. And what you saw on the outside was there's a person doing thing on stage that's sad. And so
Yeah.
it's so interesting because didn't feel like that, but because you said that, it helped me to know that
Yeah,
this stuff does matter,
it
even if we
does.
don't feel like it.
Yeah. Sad people doing things. And I'm telling you, it's like we're a community, and the more we can keep doing things, the better everybody's going to be.
I want to make a shirt of that. That's a
I
good one.
know. I think
We
we
can.
Well,
should.
speaking of sad people doing things, there's also the element of sad people going through more hard things, and that's kind of the next part of this,
Oh
right?
no.
Anita, I'll let you ask some questions because you've had this similar sort of experience.
Tell me what happened after.
Well, this I went on a tear for 6 years. So Jared died in March of 2018. COVID hit in March of 2020, which, rocked us all. And then freaking breast cancer diagnosis in March of 2022. So
Ah.
I started like, okay, March on even years isn't this isn't
You're feeling a little like Caesar.
this
Like,
isn't good
et
for
Brute?
yeah. Yes, yes. But super grateful that, was caught early-ish enough to, I'm still here and the scans look good. And so I had to weather that storm during 2022. But I'm happy to
Hmm.
say March of 2024 was fine and nothing.
You should not have put that in the universe, my friend.
Tell everybody how it went. So you did chemo and radiation, right?
Yeah, I did both. I was stage 2 and it was HER2 positive. So for those that are in that world at all, and I'm sure some of you are, so that's driven by estrogen. That's a hormonal driven cancer. So yeah, we did chemo first. And then that's another conversation you have to have with your daughter of like, they hear the scary word, or you watch shows or you books and people die, and she knows people die. So then to have to break it to her that, well, I have cancer, and the for there, are you going to be bald? And are you it's just
I love
big
that
scary
that's the
stuff.
first question. Are you going to
Yeah.
be bald?
Are
And
you
then,
going to
are you going to
look like a
die?
sick person? Yeah, not are you going to die?
Yeah.
So we just talked through it. I said, I am going to lose my hair. It's just not going to be a very fun summer, but I'm going to do everything the doctors tell me. I'm going to do everything they say so that I'm going to be here to watch you grow up. I promise I'll do everything I can in my power. And it wasn't an awesome summer, but I feel really grateful I weathered it as well as I did. I had pretty good energy throughout. We did chemo. I responded well enough. The tumor shrunk enough. We were able to just do a lumpectomy instead of all the other radical choices you might have to make. And then we did radiation too. And radiation kind of packs a wallop. Like you lay there for a sec, you feel nothing, you see nothing, you smell nothing. You get up off that table thinking, well, this is dumb. And then you have all this, like, I don't know, scarring and tenderness and discoloration. And none of it is pleasant, and that. But I think that you think when you're done, you'll go back to your old self and everything's going to be great. And you just kind of don't. Like you're just in a different body for forever. And it happens overnight. It's not like having kids maybe where your body grows kind of a little bit each day. And then, this is such a dramatic overnight shift that I'm still trying to get acquainted with this new middle-aged body that is not the one I've known, all these years. So it's it's getting to know myself again as a sad person in a body I don't recognize. Still doing things,
Still
however.
doing things.
Yeah.
I was just thinking the strangest thought. I was like, this is a different body than I checked out from like the library.
Yeah. Yes.
Like
Yep.
that I
Little
selected to come to Earth with or whatever.
I didn't choose this one. Did not choose this one. But it's still, I still feel great. I still have good energy. I'm just really, really grateful for that.
What does good energy mean? Because death takes away energy
Yeah.
hardcore, and obviously so does chemo and radiation. So what does good energy look like for you?
I feel like good energy for me is I can mostly get through most days without feeling like I have to take a nap. So that's pretty good. And then I also still have energy to fit a workout in. I have energy to go like do things with the nieces and nephews or with Victoria or go see shows. I'm a musical theater nerd, so I love to go see shows and So I have the energy to do the things that I think I like doing. And sometimes I don't do my workout because I don't have the energy, but mostly I fit it in.
I have a fantastic upcoming Aladdin show that you should come and watch that my
Are you
kids
in
are in.
Aladdin?
No, but my kids are.
Are they doing Aladdin Junior?
Yeah.
How old
Yeah.
are your kids now?
18, 14, 11, and 8. And the 11-year-old and the 8-year-old are in Aladdin. And
18, 14, 11. Wow.
I want to come
Okay.
see it.
my one son is going to be Jafar. Oh, that reminds me. I'm supposed to buy tickets today. Dang it.
Don't forget. I have
Ah,
forgotten, and that is not, I mean, I still made it to the show, but it's scary. It's a scary moment. We did Victoria did Aladdin Junior in junior high
oh,
school. And it was great. It's a bright, colorful show. How fun. I love musical theater kids, the up and coming generation.
We should do a musical theater show with widows. I know that our friend Maya Glasser loves
that would
musical
be
theater.
so
So, Erica,
fantastic.
you can direct. I'll music
Okay.
direct. Anita, your stage crew.
And play the guitar.
We have our live musician in the pit right here. We're good
Uh-huh.
to go.
You just need one.
I can play the C chord, the G chord, the D chord, the A chord.
Ooh,
Easy.
and
That's
throw
all
an
you
E
need.
chord. You
I
need
can
an
do
E
a
chord.
B7. That's all I got.
So, okay, Erica, I have a question for you. And Anita and I, we used to ask this question or kind of talk about this maybe more in the beginning of when our podcast was new, because we would get a lot of people that would compare these two things. I'm divorced and then widowed. You're divorced and then widowed. And some people are just like, well, oh, it's not as hard to be widowed because you didn't have animosity like perhaps a divorce was. But for me, it's been two different things. I'm wondering if you would speak to that. Have you thought about it? I didn't prep you for this at all. Sorry, because we're just talking about it. What if someone came up and said, "Oh, well, that's so sad that you're widowed, but at least you're not divorced from him because that's worse." What would you say? How would you respond to somebody?
I I would gasp if that is what they said. I would gasp. There's two such totally different things. Actually, I wrote a funny little, well, I had a funny little encounter once when I was meeting acquaintances. And they were introducing us, and they say, "Oh, her husband died recently. Sorry about that, by the way." And the guy that was we were being introduced to said, "Oh, my wife died too recently." And so, I was like, "Oh, he gets it." And then he says, "When we divorced," and everybody howled around this
Oh,
table. And I was just like, well, they're actually not the same thing. They're not the same thing.
that's so gross.
And look, animosity is a terrible thing to live with, but I think that can be dealt with and worked through and processed in your own space. So I am divorced, but we actually have a really amicable, great relationship, and he's great. He's a great dad. So no, I don't think they're the same at all. Have people
Oh yeah,
said?
people say. Yeah, you know how people just say like
Yeah.
flippant things.
So, what's your life looking like now?
Well, I'm still a sad person doing things. I I went through, so it's funny you say you took guitar because the summer Jared died, I ordered a guitar on Amazon. I've always wanted to play. I was trying to write music, so I don't have Mel's years of extensive knowledge in the songwriting space. And so the piano was very difficult for me to try to write songs on because I feel like it's so structured. But guitar, you can just kind of maybe strum some chords and hum a melody, and it just felt a little more flexible for me. I grew up playing the piano and singing and stuff, but I had never dabbled in any other instrument. So the guitar has really saved my life, actually, is to be able to just sit and play sad songs and work on chords. And then that's kind of what slowly brought me back to performing. I swore that I'd never sing again. Singing was always very joyful for me. And as inspirational as Mel was that summer on stage, I never knew if I'd get there myself. So the guitar really helped, and I did find myself getting back up on stage and performing. And I've been writing some original songs that I finally dared this past year to start sharing publicly. So I share them on Instagram and Facebook. Erica Hansen 13 for anyone who's interested. And that's been so rewarding for me. And it started out as this exercise of, because I became an avid journaler after Jared died. And I just would write and write and write and write. And then it all would sound the same to me, like, I'm so sad. Where are you? Ooh, just boring. So I finally thought, can I make it rhyme? What if I wrote a sad poem? So I started kind of flexing my brain that way. And then it would turn into song lyrics. And then I'd get my guitar out. And it's been a really helpful and healing process for me. And then I have been able to get back up on stage, and that's been another layer as well. So I've just slowly been, we talked about a concept once in back at the sharing place in the parents' room in the grief group, which I always went into reluctantly. But we talked about post-traumatic stress growth. So we hear a lot about PTSD, but there's also this PTSG and this growth space of how you fill that time and this new person you can become. And so now I can say I play guitar and I'm a singer-songwriter. Like I can say that now. I can say I'm an author now. Like there's things that I can attach to my name now that I couldn't before. Now, of course, if I could bring Jer back, oh, you bet. Like, but that's not an option. So, it's interesting how we grow and morph. Right. Right.
AI will bring him back somehow.
We'll see. I wish they'd get on with it. So that's been a great discovery for me, and to add some just new skills and work on new hobbies and crafts, and it's brought me great joy.
Okay, so she can play the guitar, Mel, sorry, in all of your things.
Well, she's got to act. Someone has to act and sing. I think I'd rather have you play the guitar, Anita,
Okay.
because now that you're taking lessons, we can
Yeah.
I'll
A
write
lesson.
it. I'll write all the music for the chords you know.
Okay,
It'll be
thank
fine.
You got those 4 chords.
That's
But
all you need.
she's our gal. She'll get it. She'll get it.
So tell us about this book.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. I've been working on the book since, so Jared's been gone 7 years now. We just passed his anniversary date, actually. And I've been, like I said, an avid journal ever since. And so then I would start to write thoughts. I would write creative pieces of these odd moments you have when people pop off with some insensitive. So, and I started one, and I've always wanted to write a book, and I never knew what to write about. And Jer always wanted us to write our love story because it's such a great story. So then I started to wonder if, even though I didn't write the book in a linear sense, I kept wondering, like, is there enough here to turn into a book? And would it have a beginning, middle, and an end? And can I make it one cohesive? I had this empty wall in the guest room that I would just put Post-its up of like, what are all the things that would need to go into this book? So the book is called The Hope at the End of the Tunnel, and it is part love story, like great rom-com. I'm telling you, getting to know Jeremy will be so worth your time. He's just larger than life. He dies about halfway through the book, spoiler alert. And then the rest of it is kind of this navigation piece of what does life look like now. And I remember for me, after he died, I tried to find books that would show me what life is supposed to look like. Literally, what do we do now? Like, I don't even know. I didn't know any young women. I just didn't know. And I felt like every single book ended at about 1 year. Like they'll talk to you about that horrible first year, and then just nothing gave me hope beyond that. And there's nothing hopeful about the first year. Second year's worse, right? So this book actually spans, like, of course, the first year, but there's a lot in the second year of healing. I touch in the third year. And actually, the very last piece is a 6-year look at, I promise you'll breathe again. I promise you're going to have joyful moments that are truly genuine. you're gonna be okay. And so I'm really hoping it helps give people, especially if you're just like new in this awash grief space, is maybe a shred of hope.
It's a
So
long-term retrospective,
yeah,
peer
that's
reviewed.
I think a little bit humorous at times, and of course gut wrenching at other times, and just delightful. Like Jared's just so delightful. And there's some flashbacks, and it's available in paperback, ebook, and then there's an audio version as well,
Oh,
in which some of my original songs make an appearance. So
really? Okay, I gotta listen. I cannot read a book anymore. Like I don't read them, but I can listen to a book.
terrific. Well, please spend some time with me. That'd be
A
great.
lot of widows actually say that they're like, I still can't read, but audiobook, give it to me. So thank you for recording an audio version.
We always encourage our widow authors. We're like, you got to get the audiobook.
Yeah.
You got to
Yes,
do
and
it.
that was a massive labor of love too. So it's been such a huge project that I'm just so excited that it's complete, and I just really want to get it in the hands of people that might need it. They might need that little bit of a lifeline.
Erica, so Audible, right? And then anywhere else?
Yes, it's on Audible and Spotify.
Ooh, beautiful.
Yes.
So you should be able to find it. And then paperback and ebook currently are on Amazon, and it within the next, I don't know, a few days should be on like Barnes and Noble and other platforms as well. But Amazon
Fantastic.
and then Audible and Spotify. And I would love for you guys to share it. And if you love it, give it a review. If you don't, move on with your
Then
life.
just, yeah, ignore. And your Instagram, if anyone wants to follow her, and we'll post all this in the show notes, is Erica Hansen with an EN, right?
Erica Hansen. Yeah, Erica with a C-A.
Erica with a C. Yeah.
Yep, Erica with a C, Hansen with an E. So Erica Hansen, Hansen 13 on Instagram. And you can see some of the songs and see pictures of Jer. And there's also, I have a website that has lots of pictures that go along with the stories at the Erica Hansen.
Oh,
Ooh.
Yeah,
great.
that's right. Somebody beat me to it. So I'm like, okay, I'll one up you.
Oh,
The
I need to get my own name.
Well, yours sounds more official. The Anita Coyle
Yeah,
and anitacoyle.com because nobody took it.
Erica, you have inspired me to spend more time at Costco because you just never do know what might pop up. You might get a lawnmower, you might get an inflatable island, you might get the world's largest tub of chocolate chips, or you might find your husband.
And one of the nice things you'll read about in the book is we were featured in the Costco Connect magazine.
Oh, come on.
Our love story was. So yeah,
You made it in life. That is fantastic.
Do you want to know a random fun fact that's a tragic fact? So we are in March of 2025. And did you know, because you have the love of Nashville, Patsy Cline. This person's not Patsy Cline, but adjacent. Dolly Parton just became a widow.
Yeah. Gosh, they were like 60-ish years together. Can you imagine?
Yeah. Talk about songwriting.
Will she be on the podcast, do you think?
Yeah, get her on.
One of the people I played for, her publicist was also that person's publicist, but I don't talk to them anymore, so I don't think so. I am no
Dang it.
help there.
Should I
Maybe-
send her a copy of my book?
Yeah.
I bet they get stuff like that.
I'm really sad. I was really, really sad to see that. Now, he was always interesting to me because he was always just a quiet, behind the scenes kind of guy. Never really saw her perform and never did red carpet. So, what an interesting relationship that is. But she's so great. And I mean, who knows what she'll create out of this, right? Maybe she'll write some really beautiful, heartbreaking songs for us.
Yes, even more than all she's already done, which is a lot. She's great. So we're sorry, Dolly Parton. I'm sure you'll never listen to this, but thanks
We love
for
you.
your life, and we're sorry you're a widow. Yeah.
Yes.
And check out Erica's book and her Instagram. And if you're ever in Salt Lake City and you want to come hear her sing, maybe at a restaurant, you can message her because who knows when that is. It's random.
Who knows? It's here and there. It's hit and miss, but it sure is fun when we get to do it. So.
Fantastic.
You guys, how delightful to sit and chat. Thank you so much for sharing your stories and creating this community where people can rely on each other and find inspiration and hope.
Thanks for being here. We're excited to have people hopefully check your story out. So it helps a lot of people, even if they don't reach out. So, and you know how it is being a widow. You're a blob. So
You're a total Bob. That's why I always tell people, do not send me a thank you card. Like if I send them a journal or whatever, just remove that from your list of things to worry about.
yeah.
So,
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Erica. We really appreciated getting to know you, well, me, and hearing your story. And hopefully everybody else has too. If you'd like to keep the podcast going, will you please check out our Patreon? It's patreon.com/WWDN.
If you'd like to buy us tacos, go to buymeacoffee.com/widowwedonoww.
And we always love a nice review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and make sure you're subscribed to the show. And until we get to talk to you again, I'm Anita.
I'm Mel.
and I'm Erica.
We're just two young widows and one sad person doing things, and we're all just trying to figure out widow
We
do
now.
Mel.
Yeah,
We have a major announcement to make.
go for it.
Did you know that right now all plans on Mint Mobile are what?
$15 a month.
Okay, that's truly ridiculous. Do you know how much regular cell phones are?
Yep.
$1 bazillion a month. 15 is less than that.
New customers get 3 months of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month if you sign up right now. And guess what? I use it. I love it. I've used it all over the country, all over the world, and it's great. And if you're wondering about phones, they have those available as well, or you can just port your own number and your current phone over to Mint Mobile. They make it so easy.
So if people are interested in trying out Mint Mobile, how can they go about doing that?
Go to trymintmobile.com/WWDN. And you know what's interesting? When my dad died, we actually put his phone on a Mint Mobile plan because it kept his number going, but it was $15 a month. So there you go. And there's different storage plans, but you might as well just get the unlimited because it's $15 a month.
Absolutely. All right, go try it today.
That's trymintmobile.com/WWDN.